Tiffany Henyard, the mayor of Dolton, Illinois, has found herself at the center of a growing political and financial storm that has not only drawn local scrutiny, but also garnered national attention. Once seen as a bold and ambitious leader, Henyard's tenure has been marred by a series of controversies, legal challenges, and financial scandals that have left her administration in disarray. What initially appeared to be a promising journey in leadership has devolved into a saga of mismanagement, public clashes, and deep divisions within the Dolton community. One of the most defining aspects of Henyard's leadership is her increasingly combative approach to governance. A particularly explosive incident took place when she stormed out of a contentious caucus meeting, accusing Illinois State Senator Napoleon Harris of orchestrating an illegal political maneuver to undermine her authority. Henyard's accusations of voter suppression and political sabotage were met with skepticism by many, but she has vowed to take legal action against those she believes are conspiring against her. This incident is just one of many that have fueled growing tensions in Dolton's political landscape. Henyard's confrontational stance has not only alienated her critics, but also created a rift among her supporters. While some see her as a defiant leader standing up against a corrupt system, others view her actions as a reckless display of power, further deepening the instability within the community. Perhaps the most damaging aspect of Henyard's administration has been her handling of Dolton's finances. Reports of extravagant spending and financial mismanagement have shocked residents, many of whom live in modest conditions, and are now questioning how their tax dollars are being used. One of the most eye-catching revelations was Henyard's alleged $43,000 shopping spree on Amazon, along with other lavish expenditures using village funds. Further scrutiny revealed suspicious credit card purchases, extravagant travel expenses, and unexplained transactions, all adding to the growing list of financial red flags. The financial turmoil in Dolton was further exposed when an investigation led by former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot revealed the town's alarming budget crisis. In just 2 years under Henyard's leadership, Dolton's general fund had plummeted from a $5 million surplus to a staggering $3 million deficit. The drastic decline in the town's financial health has left many residents outraged, questioning how such a crisis could unfold under the watch of their mayor. Despite the mounting evidence of financial mismanagement, Henyard has refused to take responsibility. Instead, she has doubled down on her combative rhetoric, dismissing criticism as politically motivated attacks. Rather than addressing public concerns, she has resorted to using social media as a platform to launch personal attacks on her opponents, further deepening the divide between her and the people she governs. Adding to Henyard's growing list of challenges, her administration is now under federal investigation. Reports suggest that the FBI has launched an inquiry into her financial dealings, further intensifying the scrutiny on her leadership. Federal authorities are reportedly examining various financial records and questionable transactions linked to her administration, raising concerns about possible corruption. This investigation, combined with the existing financial turmoil, has only fueled public frustration. Many residents now believe that Henyard is more focused on protecting her image and clinging to power rather than effectively governing Dolton. With crime rates rising, infrastructure issues worsening, and public services suffering due to budget constraints, Dolton is facing serious challenges that require responsible leadership. Despite the overwhelming criticism, Henyard still maintains a base of loyal supporters who believe she is being unfairly targeted by political adversaries. Her most ardent defenders argue that she is a victim of a coordinated attack designed to remove her from power, insisting that she is fighting against a corrupt political establishment. On the other hand, an increasing number of Dolton residents see her leadership as a liability. For them, her refusal to address financial concerns, her divisive rhetoric, and her growing legal troubles have made her an unfit leader. Critics argue that her actions have done more harm than good, pushing the town further into financial instability and chaos. As the political crisis in Dalton deepens, the future remains uncertain. Henyard's leadership has left the town at a crossroads. Will her continued defiance lead to her downfall, or will she somehow manage to turn things around? With a growing deficit, intensifying federal investigations, and a community that is becoming more disillusioned by the day, Henyard's tenure as mayor appears to be on shaky ground. The people of Dalton are demanding answers, accountability, and a leader who prioritizes their needs over personal and political battles. For now, the clock is ticking, and Dalton's future hangs in the balance. Whether Henyard can weather the storm or if her controversial leadership will ultimately lead to her downfall remains to be seen. One thing, however, is clear. The people of Dalton are watching closely, and they will not remain silent. Tensions within Dalton's local government have reached a breaking point as Mayor Tiffany Henyard's leadership continues to spark controversy. The once promising leader now finds herself at the center of political and financial turmoil, with her administration accused of mismanagement, lack of transparency, and an unwillingness to cooperate with other officials. The growing friction between Henyard and Dalton's trustees has paralyzed local governance, making it difficult for the town to function effectively. In recent months, the mayor's contentious approach to leadership has driven a wedge between her and many members of the local government. Some trustees have even refused to attend meetings, citing her lack of cooperation and heavy-handed tactics as a primary reason for their absence. As a result, Dalton's ability to address its most urgent issues, ranging from financial instability to public safety concerns, has been significantly hindered. As the fallout from Henyard's leadership continues to unfold, calls for her resignation are growing louder. Many residents and political observers are questioning whether she is capable of leading Dalton through its current crisis. The town's financial woes have worsened under her administration, and with an election season on the horizon, Dalton's future remains uncertain. Henyard's tenure has been defined by scandal, poor decision-making, and a failure to address the pressing needs of her community. Yet, despite the backlash, she has maintained a firm grip on power, thanks in part to a loyal political base. Supporters view her as a fighter standing up against political forces that seek to undermine her, while critics argue that she has become a symbol of dysfunction and mismanagement. With discontent growing, a new contender has stepped forward to challenge Henyard's leadership. Jason House, a lifelong Dalton resident, has officially announced his candidacy for mayor. House's campaign is centered around transparency, accountability, and financial responsibility, issues that have resonated strongly with residents frustrated by Henyard's leadership. House has positioned himself as the clear alternative, promising to restore trust in local government and refocus attention on the real issues facing Dalton. His campaign has gained momentum among residents who feel neglected by Henyard's administration and who are eager for a change in leadership. As Election Day approaches, Dalton's citizens will have a critical decision to make. Will they continue with Henyard's embattled leadership, or will they opt for a fresh start under House's stewardship? Henyard's time in office has been marked by relentless scrutiny. Her controversial handling of local governance, coupled with mounting financial scandals, has left the town deeply divided. Some residents still see her as a champion of the people, someone who fights for the underprivileged and refuses to bow to political pressure. Others, however, view her as an ineffective leader whose mismanagement has pushed Dalton into crisis. As the community grapples with the consequences of her decisions, the future of Dalton hangs in the balance. Will Henyard be able to weather the storm and retain power, or will her tenure come to a dramatic and decisive end? The coming months will reveal whether her political career can survive the mounting challenges she faces. Henyard's troubles have not been confined to Dalton alone. Her recent failure to secure a position on the Democratic ballot in Thornton Township, where she has long been a prominent figure, has dealt another major blow to her political ambitions. The omission from the ballot, which stemmed from her campaign's failure to meet key filing requirements, has significantly damaged her political standing and raised further questions about her competence. This development has created an opening for State Senator Napoleon Harris, who has stepped in to claim the Democratic nomination for the township. Harris' move has intensified the political battle between the two, with Henyard and her supporters accusing him and other Democratic leaders of conspiring to push her out of power. What was supposed to be a routine township caucus quickly spiraled into chaos as Henyard and her supporters voiced strong opposition to Harris' ascension. They claimed that her omission from the ballot was not an accident, but rather a deliberate attempt to sideline her from local politics. Henyard has accused her political opponents of orchestrating a plot to weaken her influence in Thornton Township, where she has historically held significant power. Her critics, however, argue that her failure to meet the ballot requirements is just another example of her administration's lack of organization and accountability. They see this setback as indicative of her broader struggles with governance, financial management, and political strategy. As the political battle rages on, Dolton remains at a crossroads. The town faces serious financial challenges, rising discontent among residents, and a growing divide between political factions. Henyard's refusal to acknowledge the concerns of her critics and her increasingly combative stance have only exacerbated tensions, making it difficult to find a path forward. With federal investigations looming, public trust waning, and new political challengers gaining traction, the next few months will be crucial in determining the future of both Henyard's political career and the town of Dolton itself. For Dolton residents, the stakes have never been higher. Will they continue with the controversial leadership of Tiffany Henyard, or will they take a leap of faith and embrace new leadership under Jason House? As election season unfolds, one thing is certain: Dolton's residents are watching closely, and they are demanding answers. Tiffany Henyard, the embattled mayor of Dolton, Illinois, has found herself at the center of a fierce political battle that has sent shockwaves throughout local governance. Once seen as a promising leader with a bold vision, she is now engulfed in controversy, facing allegations of financial mismanagement, political manipulation, and a deepening rift with her own community. Her most recent setback came when she failed to secure a spot on the Democratic ballot for Thornton Township Supervisor. The exclusion, which she has called politically motivated, has further weakened her influence and raised serious questions about her future in public office. While Henyard and her supporters claim that this move was an orchestrated effort to eliminate her from power, her critics argue that it is yet another example of her inability to meet basic campaign requirements. This dramatic shift in Thornton Township's political landscape marks a turning point, as power begins to shift away from Henyard and towards State Senator Napoleon Harris. Harris, who has now positioned himself as a dominant political figure in the township, has faced his own share of scrutiny, but his rise signals a potential end to Henyard's influence in the region. The fallout from Henyard's exclusion from the ballot was on full display during a recent caucus, where tensions ran high. After being officially removed from consideration, Henyard stormed out of the event, accusing Harris of orchestrating an illegal process. She claimed that the caucus was rigged against her, that it violated procedural rules, and that she was unfairly blocked from participation. Threatening legal action, Henyard vowed to sue those involved, arguing that she was the victim of voter suppression and political sabotage. However, Harris and his team have firmly denied these allegations, maintaining that the caucus followed all legal requirements and was conducted fairly. Despite Harris' reassurances, Henyard's supporters continue to argue that the process was biased. Some claim that Harris' allies packed the room with his own supporters while leaving Henyard's out in the cold. Others have gone so far as to allege that the vote was manipulated, preventing hundreds of people from participating. The dispute did not end there. Henyard later doubled down on her accusations, labeling the entire caucus a scam and insisting that it was intentionally designed to keep her off the ballot. Her legal team has pointed to a clause that prohibits township supervisor candidates from simultaneously running for another office, a rule that Henyard claims she was unaware of until the day of the caucus. She believes this rule was deliberately weaponized against her. Harris' team, however, has dismissed these claims, stating that the rules were made publicly available well in advance. They argue that Henyard's exclusion was the result of her own campaign's failure to comply with basic requirements rather than any foul play. This latest political battle is just one of many controversies surrounding Henyard. Over the past year, she has faced a growing number of allegations related to financial mismanagement and reckless spending. One of the most shocking revelations involved an alleged $443,000 Amazon shopping spree, a single-day expenditure that left residents stunned. This spending, combined with over $100,000 in travel, food, and discretionary expenses, has fueled accusations that Henyard has been misusing taxpayer funds for personal gain. Critics argue that such extravagance is particularly egregious given Dolton's economic struggles. With a median annual income of just $24,000, many residents are living paycheck to paycheck, making it even more difficult for them to accept the lavish spending habits of their mayor. A preliminary report led by former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, who was hired to investigate Henyard's finances, revealed a troubling pattern of financial mismanagement. The investigation found that under Henyard's leadership, Dolton's general fund plummeted from a $5 million surplus to a staggering $3 million deficit in just 2 years. Adding to the controversy, Henyard is accused of using a village-issued credit card for personal purchases at stores like Walgreens, Target, and Wayfair. These revelations have deepened public frustration, as many residents now believe that the town's financial instability is a direct result of Henyard's reckless spending. As these scandals continue to unfold, Dolton's residents are becoming increasingly vocal about their dissatisfaction. Many community members are demanding accountability, with some calling for Henyard's immediate resignation. They argue that her leadership has not only failed to address the town's critical issues, but has actively made them worse. Despite the mounting backlash, Henyard has remained defiant. Instead of addressing the accusations head-on, she has taken an aggressive approach, frequently using social media to attack her critics. She claims that she is the target of a political witch hunt, portraying herself as a fighter against a corrupt system that seeks to bring her down. This combative stance has allowed her to retain a core base of loyal supporters who believe she is being unfairly persecuted. However, for many others, Henyard's refusal to acknowledge any wrongdoing has further eroded trust in her leadership. As the political crisis deepens, Dolton finds itself at a crossroads. With legal battles looming, a federal investigation underway, and a newly energized political opposition gaining traction, Henyard's hold on power is more uncertain than ever. Meanwhile, Jason House, a longtime Dolton resident, has emerged as a challenger in the upcoming election. House has positioned himself as the anti-Henyard candidate, vowing to restore transparency, accountability, and financial responsibility to local government. His message has resonated with many residents who feel disillusioned by Henyard's leadership. As Election Day approaches, Dolton's citizens will have to make a critical choice: continue with Henyard's embattled leadership or embrace new leadership under House. Regardless of the election outcome, one thing is clear: Dolton's political landscape has been permanently altered. Henyard's tenure has been marked by scandal, financial instability, and deep divisions within the community. While some still see her as a champion of the people, many view her as a symbol of dysfunction and failed leadership. Will Henyard be able to weather the storm and reclaim her influence, or will this series of scandals spell the end of her political career? The coming months will determine not just her fate, but the future direction of Dolton itself. For the residents of Dolton and Thornton Township, the stakes have never been higher. The battle for political dominance is far from over, and the choices made in the near future will shape the community for years to come. Tiffany Henyard, the embattled mayor of Dalton and supervisor of Thornton Township, has found herself at the center of an escalating political and financial crisis. Once seen as a rising political figure, she is now facing mounting scrutiny over allegations of financial mismanagement, legal battles, and accusations of using her political power for personal gain. While her supporters argue that her spending was aimed at modernizing and improving the village, reports from independent investigations, including one led by former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, suggest that Henyard's lack of oversight and accountability has exacerbated Dalton's financial problems rather than alleviating them. With ongoing investigations, legal troubles, and growing public dissatisfaction, Henyard's political future remains uncertain. Her tenure has deeply divided Dalton, and many residents are now questioning whether she is truly committed to serving the community's best interests or if her leadership has become more about self-preservation. Henyard's financial troubles extend beyond her public office, intertwining with personal scandals that raise further doubts about her leadership. Recently, her landlord revealed that Henyard and her boyfriend are facing eviction from their rental property due to months of unpaid rent. Reports indicate that they have accumulated thousands of dollars in back payments. In an apparent attempt to avoid eviction, Henyard allegedly changed the garage code and locks to prevent the landlord from accessing the property. This revelation is particularly concerning given that Henyard holds two high-paying public positions, earning nearly $300,000 annually as the mayor of Dalton and supervisor of Thornton Township. If she cannot manage her own personal finances, critics argue, how can she be trusted to handle millions in taxpayer dollars? This question has only fueled public frustration and raised concerns about her ability to govern effectively. Henyard's financial mismanagement extends beyond her personal affairs and has had a significant impact on Dalton and Thornton Township. Trustees have repeatedly raised alarms about unpaid invoices for essential services, warning that the village's financial instability is putting residents at risk. One of the most critical issues is the township's insurance coverage, which reportedly lapsed due to non-payment. This has left vital services, such as senior bus programs and liability coverage for township properties, in limbo. Rather than addressing these pressing financial concerns, Henyard has proposed controversial measures that have sparked outrage within the community. In a move widely seen as an attempt to deter potential political challengers, she proposed slashing the salary of her successor as Thornton Township supervisor from $225,000 to just $200,000, a significant pay cut that many see as a power play. Trustees have condemned this move, accusing Henyard of prioritizing her own political survival over the well-being of the township. Henyard, however, has blamed trustees for obstructing her efforts to resolve these financial crises. But her critics argue that her reckless spending, lack of transparency, and alleged misuse of public funds are the real reasons behind Dalton's fiscal collapse. As Henyard's financial and political troubles mount, the cost of her legal battles continues to drain township funds at an alarming rate. Residents are growing increasingly frustrated as their tax dollars are being used to fund Henyard's lawsuits against trustees, critics, and local business owners. Many of these lawsuits, critics say, appear to be more about personal vendettas than legitimate legal concerns. The most alarming development is that the FBI has launched an investigation into Henyard's financial conduct, focusing on allegations that she misappropriated public funds and used her position to punish political opponents. Business owners have come forward with claims that they faced severe consequences for refusing to support her politically. One notable case involves the owner of Wanders, a local business that had its license revoked after refusing to endorse Henyard. Another business owner claims his trucking company was forced to shut down under similar pressure. These allegations have raised serious concerns that Henyard has turned Dalton into a personal fiefdom, using her authority to silence dissent and reward loyalty. Some have even likened the situation to a real-life version of the chaotic fictional town depicted in the TV show Parks and Recreation, except with far more serious consequences. Despite mounting evidence of financial mismanagement, Henyard continues to maintain that she is the victim of a smear campaign orchestrated by political opponents. At a recent village board meeting, she compared herself to former President Donald Trump, claiming that she is being unfairly targeted because of her position. This statement was met with visible frustration from the audience, with many residents turning away in protest. Her critics, however, remain unconvinced. One frustrated resident summed up the public sentiment by stating, "She doesn't even pay her own bills. How can she run a town?" The controversy surrounding Henyard is not just a political issue. It is a crisis that is directly affecting Dolton residents. With the township's finances in disarray, essential services in jeopardy, and lawsuits draining public funds, the people of Dolton are demanding accountability. As the FBI investigation continues and public outrage grows, the future of Dolton remains uncertain. Henyard's leadership has been marred by scandal, allegations of corruption, and accusations of placing personal interests above the needs of the community. The upcoming election will be a crucial turning point for the town. Many residents believe it is time for new leadership, someone who can restore transparency, fiscal responsibility, and public trust. One potential challenger is Jason House, a longtime Dolton resident who has positioned himself as an alternative to Henyard's administration. House has promised to bring accountability back to local government and address the financial crisis that have plagued the town under Henyard's leadership. As the election approaches, Dolton's citizens will have to decide, will they stand by Henyard despite the ongoing investigations and financial turmoil, or will they choose new leadership in hopes of stabilizing their community? Regardless of the outcome, one thing is clear: Dolton is at a crossroads. The battle for political dominance is far from over, and the choices made in the coming months will shape the future of the township for years to come. Tiffany Henyard's tenure as mayor and township supervisor has been nothing short of tumultuous. From allegations of financial mismanagement to politically motivated lawsuits, her leadership has been called into question more than ever before. With the FBI investigation looming, Dolton's financial struggles worsening, and public trust eroding, her political career hangs in the balance. Will she manage to weather the storm and reclaim her influence? Or will the combination of legal troubles, financial scandals, and growing community discontent spell the end of her time in office? The coming months will determine not just the fate of Tiffany Henyard, but the future of Dolton itself. Tiffany Henyard, the embattled mayor of Dolton and supervisor of Thornton Township, continues to face mounting criticism as allegations of financial mismanagement, political maneuvering, and abuse of power dominate public discourse. What was once seen as an ambitious leadership has now spiraled into a chaotic administration. With growing concerns over excessive spending, misallocated funds, and an increasing disconnect between Henyard and the people she was elected to serve. One of the most shocking revelations of Henyard's administration is the staggering overtime payments granted to some Dolton police officers. Reports indicate that certain officers have earned more in overtime pay than their actual salaries, raising questions about fiscal oversight. One officer, for instance, who earns an annual salary of $73,000, received over $100,000 in overtime pay alone. Critics argue that these excessive expenditures, coupled with Henyard's questionable financial decisions, have diverted critical funds away from necessary town improvements. Dolton's fragile fiscal situation has only worsened under her leadership, with essential services being neglected while taxpayer money is seemingly misused. Despite mounting evidence of wasteful spending, increasing public dissatisfaction, and growing legal troubles, Henyard remains defiant. However, her political future is far from secure, as she has yet to secure the Democratic nomination for the upcoming election. Without the party's backing, she faces limited options: either run as an independent or seek support from right-wing political factions, a move that could alienate key voter bases. Yet, Henyard remains confident, declaring, "I am 100% confident that I will win." Her legal team is reportedly preparing a lawsuit to contest the caucus results, signaling that she is ready to fight to stay in power, no matter the cost. The turmoil within Henyard's administration has created a ripple effect throughout Dalton and Thornton Township, impacting everyday residents in tangible ways. Trustees have begun boycotting meetings, leaving Dalton without proper insurance coverage, a crisis that puts essential services in jeopardy. For many residents, the constant drama and instability have become unbearable. The ongoing political infighting and financial uncertainty have led many to question whether Henyard's leadership has permanently damaged the community. Recent polling suggests that 82% of voters believe Henyard's time in office is coming to an end, indicating an overwhelming lack of confidence in her ability to govern effectively. Despite these numbers, Henyard remains defiant, dismissing concerns and claiming that she will win re-election by a landslide. However, many residents view her leadership as a farce rather than a genuine effort to serve the people. Henyard's critics argue that she is more focused on protecting her political power than addressing the real issues facing Dalton and Thornton Township. One local resident summarized the frustration, stating, "She's putting the entire community at risk just to keep herself in office." Throughout her tenure, Henyard has been accused of prioritizing personal political gain over the town's welfare, with some suggesting that her rise to power was fueled more by identity